engage, disrupt, adapt, repeat. You're listening to Pure Reinvention, the podcast for curious people.
Welcome to episode 130. I'm Sonya Robinson, here with Mike Bills.
So this has been a really great month and a really great quarter, Sonya, for our conversations regarding ownership. I want to first of all thank you for helping with the last month where we had some really dynamic conversation and you had a tremendous interview with Deanna Richardson. But I think the ownership opportunity for everyone is so prevalent, and yet really few take advantage of the opportunity that ownership presents itself, Sonya. And I think it's because it's just a commitment that not everybody is quite recognizing is within their reach.
What we've learned from our podcast guests within this quarter is that regardless of your position, you can take ownership.
Well, and I want to use you as an example, Sonya. You may or may not have the kind of opportunities in your professional life that you are driving, but you have created ownership opportunities in your personal life with your, for example, with your taking vocal lessons and driving that really strong interest you have in furthering along your skill set there. That's not always easy.
No, it's not. But I also have to say that while I don't serve as a director or a manager or a president of an organization, it's my accountability and my ownership that allows people from those levels to reach back to me and get their support.
And therein is something that I think is extremely important to highlight in this conversation, Sonya. And that is, it may feel, or to the casual observer, it may not be as obvious, the ownership role you're taking, but Sonya just mentioned something that's so important. People do notice when you own your work. People do notice when you own the results you're expected to hit, and people come to depend on you if you are capable of owning projects and results that and assignments that you were given. And so that very comment, Sonya, you just made, that leaders come to me because they know they can count on me achieving results, is a significant professional characteristic that you have.
This week's episode is sponsored by Willpower Consulting. Whether it be pursuing new avenues in content delivery like podcasts or developing a sustainable content building strategy, Willpower Consulting is with you every step of the way. Get a dose of willpower at WilliamRCarlson.com or at William R. Carlson on Twitter. You know, when we had the conversation with Chris, he also mentioned how he takes time out of his workday to have conversations with his various team members to listen to them and to understand what new lessons they may have and how he can reach back to them and they can reach back to their clients.
So it may not seem like there are any opportunities for us to own to the degree that we'd like to, but the reality is those opportunities are everywhere. And it is clearly almost everywhere you turn an opportunity to own and show the accountability that you can have and the results that you can be responsible for to a world that is respecting your work and is noticing when you get the kind of results through your ownership. And many understand this in hindsight. Few understand this in foresight, and that is you have to own the work you want to do so you can get the work you're destined to do.
Well, you know, in the conversation that was presented to us by way of Cindy and Deanna, they talked about, or I learned that it's important to identify my personal values and how those relate to initiatives that I'm connected with, because that's how I can stretch myself, owning that space and give more.
For individuals who want to really and truly understand an individual's capacity to own their work, let's say you're in an interview setting and you're trying to understand the kind of history that this individual is capable of producing. You might actually go to something in their personal world, something that they've owned, a project that they've owned, an interest that they have, and ask them to describe how they were able to own that work and how they've been able to grow that capacity and grow that success. Because what you're really looking for is that pattern, because those past patterns of behavior, and especially those past patterns of being able to create success, show that an individual can own. And for most of us, we have to start with very small things. If we can start with very small things and own and create a pattern of success, starting small and building to larger and larger things, that's a significant advantage. And in fact, Sonya, I believe you picked that up as something that Deanna had already brought to the interview process when she sat down with the interview committee for the Michigan Lodging and Tourism Association. She had already brought a pattern of success from the work she had owned through her previous assignments. And that's an impressive thing for an individual to see, but we're all capable of creating it and bringing it forward.
Yeah, that calls on us the responsibility to actually identify for ourselves what our skill sets are, what our added value is, so that we can continue repeating that, but at the same time, building new values and skill sets for ourselves.
I think that's exactly right, Sonya. We've got to get to the mindset where we're gradually increasing the accountability and the success that we're building. Everybody wants to start at the top. And in reality, you're much better off building a graduated success pattern so you show an ability to increasingly take on more and more complex tasks that you can succeed at. But when you track that right back, it started with the ability to perform at a very basic level and then add to that. And when you are, as an interviewer or as a person like you and I are, Sonya, where we're interested in observing success, we can actually track success through a whole series of looking what an individual has done in almost all of their assignments and seeing the pattern that they've created. In many cases, they started out always with making sure you start creating basic success first.
You know, after the podcast, as we listen to, the question of incremental growth versus quantum growth comes to me. You made some comments just now that take me back to what a former leader shared with me. She said that in order to grow your skill set, start, for example, if you want to learn how to do Microsoft Excel stuff, take a project from your personal life and use Microsoft Excel to massage that. And then you're able to easily transfer that knowledge now into the business world. And so throughout my career, I've been able to do that. And it's the incremental growth personally that's allowed me to share that with my organization, which I would like to coin as being the quantum growth, right? When I actually put that on the project at work, I believe it's quantum growth. I believe it's that best next added value that I've given to the organization.
And you've heard it first from Sonya Robinson. Sonya, thank you so much for being a wonderful podcast co-host for the month of June. You're awesome and such a wonderful addition to Team Pure Reinvention. And remember, if you're ready for a change, make it a change that lasts. Make it Pure Reinvention.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pure Reinvention. Keep the conversation going and get alerts when new podcasts are up by following us on Twitter at Pure Reinvention or sign up for our mailing list at purereinvention.com.